This company was founded on, building tools that were needed for music production that didn't quite exist yet. And it was, like most things that started, it was fulfilling a need at first, but then really grew into something beautiful. And here we are, continuously pushing the envelope and trying to find the next way for musicians to be creative during their process. And I find it really inspiring and exciting to be part of a group that, is not just trying to do the same thing over, but really push it forward.
Just the fact that Output's even making this course just shows that like their dedication to contributing to music technology culture and just contributing to furthering, the education of musicians around what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So, the company spends a lot of time and energy on creating great content to, show to the world, to, inspire other musicians and make people aware of how other people are running their careers and make people understand, how they can apply to their own career. And so that's one thing I would say about, the taglines, be creative. And I mean, this is just one more way for them to contribute to helping musicians be creative.
I find that, Output is a choice for many musicians because of its quality, because of the quality of the synths that we make or the sounds that these synths use, the samples that we cut, all the content that we release daily in Arcade, all of that is made in-house and it's all high quality. And I think that's a choice for musicians because they know what quality they're looking for. And as a musician myself, I know when I hear a sound, you can A-B something and hear something I really like and hear something I don't like and just know instantly if it's of quality that pleases me.
Just the fact that our instruments are, sample-based and we're not, doing the same like types of synthesis that other companies are doing, it just makes it a lot more recognizable. And, we find a lot of artists are finding the presets that we make a lot more usable than, a standard, pure soft synth. It really has that element of like human touch just because of the way that the engines are built.
Right.
Because it's a fusion of the digital like synthesis as well as the analog recordings. There's also this kind of cool cyclical feedback that happens making music software where, trends are happening in the industry and musicians are making content and, a certain sound is popular. Mm-hmm. And, maybe certain pockets of musicians are creating that sound and making those sounds popular. And then, we're a company and we're making software to serve those communities. And we're also being inspired by them at the same time. So it's actually like, a musician could make a sound popular and then we could then, re-engineer, variations of that sound and, kind of expand on those ideas. And then we find then again, that musician has taken those sounds that we've made, actually inspired by them, and then brought them back into their own work again. So it's kind of this cool way where you're able to, see how creators are moving and then fuel that creativity. And it goes back and forth both ways where they're dictating the way that we're making the software. And then if we listen to that well and we make the software well, then it feeds right back into the inspiration process where they, further expand on it. So it just keeps on feeding itself. I think Output's super cool because it's supporting a whole vast network of music creators and empowering them all to, not only be music producers, but also be people that are contributing to the music production community and be actually creators for other consumers out there. So it's kind of the core of this whole network of us in Los Angeles, and we're all doing sound design and we're all making software and we're all promoting tools. And, just this course is just one more extension of how Output is trying to expand and, create great content for musicians.
I find it really inspiring to, turn on the radio and hear music that's out there today that everybody's listening to. And the backbone of these songs are Output products. And, and it really blows me away. And it's, again, fulfilling to be able to not just make the art, not just make the music, but make the tools that the creators use to make the music, and it can be really cool to, be at a concert, be at a show, hear a song everybody knows, hear Output in that song, and be standing in the middle of the crowd and nobody knows. I find that really cool. It's kind of fun to be the man behind the curtain.
You actually have a huge advantage learning coding after being a musician if you want to be making digital tools, because it's from my experience, it actually seems like it's more difficult for a programmer to learn the musical topics than it is for a musician to learn the programming topics. And it seems that musicians are kind of just more naturally inclined to programming than maybe say people in other fields. I would guess because like music is a very abstract form of expression, and it's also very, there's no physical thing to compare it to. You have to make a new, thought process around how to describe music, and it's kind of the same for programming. There's nothing like in the physical world that you can just very clearly be like, right, it's like that. So you have to learn this whole abstract way of looking at systems and concepts, and it really is parallel to how you think as a musician writing a song already.
Right. So, right. And I find that creation process, where we are today in 2018, computing hasn't been around for that long, somewhere under a century. So it's really interesting to be actively engaging and participating in the creation process of something that we don't know, how long it'll be around. We don't know. This isn't, I'm not building Stonehenge. There's 2,000 years from now, who knows what people are going to look back and see. They might be looking at software from this era. They might not be, who knows. But it's really cool to participate and contribute something to the bigger picture of humanity through software and through music.
There's for when you're creating music, it's kind of like a left brain, right brain thing. It's like you're making music, and like that is a creative process, and you don't necessarily know that all the effort that goes into creating that music is going to come out in an equal relationship. You might spend 10 hours and be very unproductive, and you might spend 1 hour and be super productive. Whereas with technology and coding, it's a very kind of more linear path to creation where, the amount of hours you put in is what you get out. And having some balance in your life where you can kind of predict the order of the world, it's like if I put 4 hours in here, I get 4 hours of work out versus I put 10 hours in here and I get 30 minutes out. It's nice to be able to go back and forth between those two things, right, just in order to give like better balance to your day.
Mm-hmm. I find it really enjoyable that, there's a lot of musicians out there that have used the tools that I've created, that we've created. And it's really, again, fulfilling to get that feedback from people, that may have never met you before, but when they've used your music software before, they immediately feel like the sense of rapport, like, wow, I met the guy that made this thing, like, you've helped my creative process.
Yeah, making tools from scratch, it's like it switches you from the perspective of being a consumer of the music technology industry to being a creator of that space. And so all of a sudden, all these people that, were making tools for you to use and were expecting you to be a consumer of are now your colleagues, and you have, the ability to interact with the whole part of the industry on a new level, which is always really fun. I guess if you don't understand how the tools you use work, it's like you're kind of a consumer as opposed to a creator on some level, even if you're in a creative field. It's like if you're in a creative field and you only know how to use the tools and not necessarily understand them like down to a fundamental level, then you'll always be using things from a product that has been packaged in a way where they think it'll fit your needs, as opposed to maybe necessarily not. If you're using a camera and you're using it on auto mode, then you're not really going to be able to leverage the full power of the camera.
For me personally, when I don't understand something at the fundamental level, but I use it daily, I have a hard time just being okay with using something that I don't understand. Now, of course, there's a lot of things out there that I use that I don't understand fully, like my car, for example. But things that apply directly to my creative process, I want to know how they work. I want to know how they work at the core level. And that curiosity has really propelled me personally from being a musician to being a software developer, and then really learning how to integrate the two. And I find that very fulfilling, both creatively and in a professional sense. I've been here at Output for 3 years, and I was Output's first in-house audio developer, and I was just getting out of school at the time. And I had met Greg, our CEO here, and came in for an interview. And I was one guy coming straight out of college, and they were a small company looking for one guy coming straight out of college. So we kind of believed in each other and made the thing work, and starting at Output, our effects plugin, if you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out. It's on our website. It's called Movement. And that was something that I wrote. Jacob at the time, he was also in school, and he came in and helped out with parts of that project as well. And that was one of the most interesting parts of my life, really, at this point. Postgraduate, coming out of school, uncertainty around, jobs and trying to, find something that fits what I just went to school for. And I found this amazing company here in my hometown of Los Angeles. And they took a chance on me, and they believed in me. And, and we made Movement in about 6 months from scratch. And it was basically just me. And I worked way more than I needed to, and not to glorify overworking, because don't overwork yourself, but, it was a really challenging point in my life because I wanted to make this happen no matter what, and I sacrificed nights and weekends. I coded so much in 6 months. So today, we have a full team here at Output. Jacob's part of it. And, we make amazing things. We just made Arcade, so it's interesting where I came from 3 years ago to where I am today. It was difficult, but here we are.
Sometimes I get on the phone with my dad, and he calls me Mr. Anderson, the guy from The Matrix who has the day job programming, but then also at night is a hacker and is doing the underground. And that's kind of parallels the fact that I have this underground music career, but then also this kind of more professional engineering career. So when I introduce myself as a programmer, I'd say that my focus is on music signal processing and audio application development, but also on creative coding, on web development, on a little bit of iOS development. And basically the goal through all my coding is to facilitate the creation of, I guess, both tools to help the creative process, and also systems to help the creative process. So that might require making new signal processing code, or doing machine learning algorithms for analyzing audio to make new tools for searching audio, or, So through my programming career, the constant has been that it's been inspired by my music career, and it's also been kind of more a test to my more professional skills and my way of moving through the world as an engineer as opposed to a musician. Which kind of makes me stay more sane, because being a full-time musician kind of allows you to have this crazy lifestyle where there's very little order, and so you can't have. I could never do one without the other, and I would say that there are both different sides of who I am, for sure.
I find that I make some of my best music when I'm moody, and not that I'm trying to be in that state, but sometimes I'm human. I end up in that state, and making music is a nice way to relieve that. I find end up making just a lot of really warm bass noises that are nice, sustained, distorted, crackly, warm basses that with a slower tempo, and sometimes that translates, how I'm feeling into the musical realm. But I'm not always feeling that way, so sometimes I go back and work on those tracks, and I'm like, this is so slow. I'm like, this is kind of, I don't know. So, for me, the music that comes out of me is a direct reflection of kind of what I'm feeling, and it becomes an issue sometimes if I'm trying to write a genre, right? A genre may not be how I'm feeling exactly, but the music I'm making fits into that. So sometimes I really just try to throw that genre out the door and just make music for the sake of making music, because it's fulfilling.
I think most of my music projects have been inspired recently by changing the tempo of things. So I'll write a song really fast, and then I'll just make it really slow, and all of a sudden there's this whole new idea that comes out of it that I would never have anticipated.
Yeah. My first programming language was this programming language called QBasic, and the whole screen was just a blue screen. It looked like when you envision an old early 90s computer, that was QBasic. And I was 12 or 13 at the time, just wanted to understand how this stuff worked. And I remember trying to make like a 2D scroller game similar to something like Zelda. And I remember, due to my inexperience, I did not understand the concept of Z ordering, which is, what items appear topmost, So I remember I made a little character. He looked like a little dude. You could move him around. It was all cool. And then I tried to make like a green grass field, and it was just this giant green block on top of him, and I could not understand where he went. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was really cute. So I always took an interest in programming, and it wasn't like, this is my destiny, I must do this, but it was always something I thought was cool and was like the easy choice going into college when you're getting out of high school and they're like, what do you want to be, kid? And you're like, I don't know. You're like, I guess I like computers, so let's do that.
I made a techno song in Chuck. That was my first piece of code I ever made, with my friend Dave behind the camera as well. I think he did the same thing. Hold up.
MySpace.
My first time coding was, I was playing a game called Wolfenstein Enemy Territories.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I used to play this video game all the time, and I was in a clan on the internet, and I wanted to figure out like how it is that some people were like so much better than me. And I figured out that you could script certain actions in the game. So I figured out that if I wrote like a little computer script, I could make it so that like when I shot the gun, that my sensitivity would change and my character would automatically crouch. So I could code little actions so I could, pwn the noobs, as they say.
Get started. Know where you are at in regard to your technical level. And if you want to be noticed, make something cool. The first thing everybody asks for is, well, let's see what you've made. So make something cool. It's great if you take this course and you understand what we're talking about. But now it's, the ball's in your court. It's time to go take the skills that you just learned and make something that you enjoy, and a tool that'll help others with their creative process. Because when you come to a company like this, they want to see that you're on this path already. There's a lot of programming jobs out there and stuff, and just getting started and being part of the audio development field, it can be tough, So the further along you are in the course, and the more there is to have that like personal drive to make something exciting, the more, you are closer to this field and where we are today.
Share your work, and don't be afraid to find someone's email off LinkedIn and get someone's contact and just send them a copy of your software and say, hey, this is what I do. I'm from here, and I'm interested in what you guys are doing over there. And if there's any way we can chat, then I'd love to do that. And it's a narrow field, but it's also, there's not a lot of people that can do it. And if you're a musician here on Kadenze and you're very serious about learning software development, then you're going to have a major leg up in getting into this industry.
The world's got a lot of programmers. There's a smaller group of audio developers, and you'll meet a lot of them over the time, if you're going to conferences and meetups and stuff, they're around. And it's a small community, so be nice, be humble, and it'll go a long way.